right, here we go.
Hello, this is the Catholic Esquire. Today we're going to talk about the real poison pill that's happening at the Synodality in Rome this month of October. This is really the last phase of the preparatory phase that's going to happen. And then I think sometime next year there's going to be some document that sort of summarizes everything and then draws conclusions. But I think a lot of people, including traditionalists and conservatives, are being misled here. You see, modernists, they're very devious, they're very clever, and a lot of them are actually quite intelligent. And they know exactly what they're doing here, and they're intentionally misleading and sort of throwing in distractions in order to keep the eyes of the traditionalists and the conservatives off of the real ball, off of the real goal here. And so what I'm hoping to do in this video is remind you of what's actually really happening, because I'm sure many of you have already thought of this, but refocus so we don't get distracted and misled, so we can continue to fight for the truth against the actual lies that are being perpetuated at this time. Because the Synod of
Can anyone hear me,
Synodality
boy?
is exactly what that title says. This is about synodality. And synodality is anti-hierarchical. The poison pill here, my friends, is not that the modernists want to ordain women. It's not that they want to change the sacrament of marriage to allow unholy unions to be sacramentalized. The point of the synod today is not any of that. The point of this synod now is to change the structure of the church, how the church operates going forward, to change the process of the church going forward forever. It's intended now to set a precedent where a document will summarize this process itself, and then going forward, that is how the changes to truth and tradition will take place. You see, the traditionalists, they sit here and say, oh, we can't wait for the next General Ecumenical Council to come in and correct Francis on all his errors, and he's going to clear this all up for us. We just have to wait for him to die, and then all of these things are going to be fixed sometime down in the future by this council. And I'm sitting here thinking, you guys, the Synod of Synodality is making the next council that you're hoping to come in and save you never going to happen. The whole point of this is to eliminate the need for a hierarchical hope. The whole purpose of this is to eliminate the need for hierarchical general ecumenical councils. No, 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 no. See, this is all about flipping the idea of hierarchy on its head so that everybody from around the world can come together and sit around these little tables, drink their coffee and their donuts, and vote on what the truths of the Catholic Church are, to vote on what the truths of God's revelation to us are. That's how things are going to be moving forward. That's what synodality is. And so, ideally, and we've already talked about this with other documents and in other prior videos, for example, the Bishop of Rome document, the whole point of this is they're deconstructing the authority structure, the governing structure. That's where this whole women stuff comes into play. Okay, sure, there's some here, women are there that actually think they want to be ordained to become deacons and priests. But really the point is that it's just about giving women power, right? It's giving them authority within this big structure. They don't actually care about the sacraments, my friends. Catholics care about the sacraments. You know, that's why they're perfectly happy to say, oh, well, we're not going to do ordinations. We're not going to allow certain types of marriages sacramentally, because they're just going to give the power to women, or they're going to just give some sort of recognition to certain relationships without the sacramental ordination, because they don't care about that. Most of these people don't even believe in grace or understand the basics of the catechism. This is power, political. This is all this is. And it's designed to achieve an ultimate greater global agenda. That's Bergoglio's role in this, is to deconstruct the papacy and then deconstruct the hierarchy, and we're going to turn it into a big democratic council run by certain ideological viewpoints and certain people who do not understand the faith, care about the faith, and certainly don't care about you or the salvation of souls, because a lot of them don't even believe in that. This is about power. So, what are the conservatives getting wrong here? They're getting misled down these rabbit holes of women ordination or marriage changes. No, you guys, that may come down the line. It doesn't matter. It's not about substance now. Now it's about process. It's about procedure in changing how we're going to change in the future. The process. The traditionalists are being misled because they're seeing all this terrible proposed heresy and Francis teaching heresy every week on these things, and they're saying there must be something wrong with Vatican One. We Vatican One, which taught that the Pope was the supreme head of the church, the the vicar of Christ. This can't possibly be because the vicar of Christ would never do such a horrible thing. And the error there is they're not checking the premises. What's the premise? The premise is that Francis is the Pope in the first place. Go back and check the premises, but they're too afraid to do that now because we're so far into this. Well, we can't be afraid to just say we made a mistake and go back and check our premises. This is not Catholic. What's happening here is not Catholic. And so our response must be not just, well, we don't think there's theological reasons for women to be ordained. No, no, no. We need to reject the entire synod, the entire process of synodality. Our our focus point, our talking point must be we reject synodality completely. This is a novel idea. This is designed, it comes from Vatican II. It's designed to destroy the hierarchy. They do it originally for ecumenical reasons, and now it's done because they're trying to convert and hijack the Catholic Church to achieve unholy and evil ends globally. That is what we have to make our argument about. Don't get going down these rabbit holes. Don't go back and start questioning whether Vatican I was wrong or not. We need to stay focused and speak the truth. Defend the church that Christ set up. My friends, thank you for listening to this. I hope this is helpful. If it is, please share the.
So, what do you think, Kaiser?
I
Is
mean,
his
that depends.
assessment correct? What's that?
I need to read. I mean, I would want to read what the documents are, but I'm so neck deep in documents and church writings and
I know.
classics. I don't know if I ever get to it.
That's part of the obfuscation. So, clearly he's taking a temperature. His claims are on the table that the Synod on Synodality is an attempt to try to destroy the hierarchical structure of the church. And in its place,
Well,
it's going to try to set up a democratic
I
procedure.
mean
Go ahead.
but that's the problem with that is that becomes more Eastern Orthodox, and the Eastern Orthodox, even the Eastern Orthodox have a hierarchy, but that's more Eastern Orthodox in that sense, in that regards, and we're not Eastern Orthodox. Because the Eastern Orthodox position of how synodality is to work is not a democrat, and it's not a democracy.
Well, I mean, when you read the paper, it's gonna, if I remember right, it's gonna be about how there's gonna be a council of bishops or something to this effect, and when they get, so instead of what is the phrase called in Catholicism where like the Pope had like magisterial authority or something like this, it's gonna be up to the bishops, so they're gonna be like the ones taking up that role. Um,
No,
that seems to.
what it's trying to do is so. I mean, I'm just trying to get your feedback now, and then we can actually go through the actual documents or the important parts of the documents to get what you think. But right off the bat, Kaiser, like, okay, I get it. You haven't read the final document yet. Just so you know, the documents themselves are actually binding at this point. So, um, the final document, according to Pope Francis's last document in 2018, which he's going to go over, says that once the Pope receives the findings and publishes the results, the final report, it's going to become part of the ordinary magisterium. So as you know, the final document was like written like a couple months ago, right? And so it is pretty much binding on us. So we do have to like read it, another one. Um, his take on this guy's take on it so far is that uh, it's an attempt to actually destroy the hierarchical system of the church. The document itself is going to try to provide an innovation and request for a change to canon law to allow for the setting up of a new diocesan conference at the local diocesan level. So it's not that the bishop is going to take on the role of the pope. It's rather that there's going to be another kind of conference or level of bureaucracy between the bishops and the local churches.
So basically, like my parish will have some kind of convent between us and the Bishop of Little Rock, essentially.
Correct. And so currently, right now, the way that it works is you have the Pope and you have national bishop conferences, right? Like the USCCB. Then each of those bishops are bishops of their own particular diocese. For example, San Francisco. But San Francisco has its own parishes, right? Part of the Synod on Synodality, or the final report, or the final document, is to try to what they want to try to implement is another level of conferences at the level of the local parishes. So usually the Bishop of San Francisco is going to go to the USCCB whenever the Pope writes like an encyclical like Laudato Si and wants certain teachings to be the Pope requests certain teachings to be
Oh,
adopted
so
at the parish
basically,
level.
institution of a more localized
Synod,
Episcopalian conference.
synod. They're calling it a
Yeah.
synod. So then, so so usually it's the case that the bishop meets together with the other bishops around the country, and they try to determine, okay, what ways are we going to try to implement this particular encyclical that's coming from the Pope or the request from the Pope. Then the bishop goes to his own diocese and tells his priest what to do, right? Now, what they want is to try to implement a synodal structure or synodal conference at the local level that's not only going to include the priests but also other lay people and even
It shouldn't,
Protestants.
but that's the thing. It should only involve clergy, nuns, deacons, and priests. It shouldn't involve. That would be one thing I object to, because I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea if, like, the priests and deacons in the area have like the general like meeting that they all have,
Correct.
but like the idea that the laity who are not ordained can make authority things, make authoritative decisions shouldn't be a thing, because at the end of the day, none of us are ordained. Only the deacons and the priests should be able to do that.
Not according to this. So, according to the document, the final document on the synodality, uh, they see that the local diocesan synod that they want to set up that includes both lay Catholic and non-Catholic can participate in the ordinary magisterium. Okay, we're just gonna go straight to the video.